Hello book huggers, this is Jen, and let's talk about what I read in September. You might notice a change in location. My schedule has been really weird this week, and so I am filming from my office at the library with the really terrible lighting, and possibly people hearing me talk to myself outside my door. But it's my lunch hour, so I thought I would quick film my wrap-up video for September, and hopefully this is all going to work out, and my camera is not going to fall off the box that it's sitting on. Cross your fingers with me, shall you? So first I'm going to just cruise through several books that I either have already reviewed or I'm going to review soon in the future, just to show you what I read, and then we'll talk much more about them later. Except for this one, which I've already talked about. So The Night Circus by Morgenstern. I've already reviewed this. I gave it 5 stars, and I love, 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 love it. Next is Dumplin by Julie Murphy. The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. And Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Aliri Sans, who I'm sure I'm mispronouncing his name and I'm terribly sorry. This one I actually read sort of in conjunction with Marinez from My Name is Marinez, because she had a Hispanic Heritage Month TBR read, and this has been on my TBR list for a long time, and I thought it would be a great time to read it. So we'll talk a lot more about that one soon. Next, I read Rutabaga the Adventure Chef, which you may have seen in my library haul video. It's a graphic novel by Eric Colossal, which is an amazing name. I hope that's his real name, because seriously. It's very comic strip in nature, but it has really great graphics, and it's about this little guy who is a chef who wants adventure. It's kind of like if Crocodile Dundee were a chef. He gets in all sorts of adventures and goes and meets dragons and Vikings, and there's castles and all kinds of stuff. It was awesome. Next, I read Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Trombley, YA contemporary fiction novel about a girl named Zoe who has to move to a small town in New York after living in New York City her whole life because her parents get divorced. And she is convinced she's only going to be in this school for 1 year, and then she's going to go back to New York City and go to this private school that she wants to go to. And she's sort of been working her whole life to get into. But pretty much from the start, she meets this boy named Philip, who she describes him as treating her like a book he's already read and knows everything about. He's just one of those people, kind of like Sherlock Holmes or the main character in the Psych TV show, whose name I can't remember right now, who are just super intuitive and observant and can pick up on things. And Philip gets her involved in all these sort of crazy schemes, including the search for a missing girl that has parallels to when Philip's own sister went missing many years before. So it was really funny. The tone for this book is super sarcastic and witty, and I just really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads because of the tone and the writing, and it was fun. It was really fun. Next, I have The Silence of Six, which I always want to call The Silence of the Six, but that's not the title, by E.C. Myers. It's a YA cyber thriller, and it's about a boy named Max who is a reformed hacker. He went through this whole phase with his friend Evan where they got really, really into hacking and using their skills to sort of hack into companies' websites and information and then tell them that they hacked in so that they could fix the problems. But he's been out of it for about a year or so, and he hasn't really been keeping in touch with Evan, even though they were really, really close friends and they went to the same school. And when the book starts, there's an actual presidential debate at their school. They picked this high school out of all the high schools in the country, and the presidential candidates are debating. And in the middle of it, someone hacks into that feed and asks the question, what about the silence of six? What can you tell us about the silence of six? And then that person kills themselves live in front of the audience at this high school. Max knows it's Evan, even though the person on the screen didn't show their face, they wore a mask, and they disguised their voice. He knows it's Evan from the clues that he sees on the screen. And as they leave the auditorium, the government takes all the phones. Nobody wants anybody to know outside of this auditorium that anything happened. They're not reporting it on the news. At first, they're not reporting it on the news. Anyway, right before this happened, Max got a text message from Evan, leaving him some clues, and so he has to use his hacking skills to sort of get back into the game and figure out why Evan killed himself. I thought it was a really fast-paced thriller. It was very interesting to see sort of how the hacking communities work together. There was an anonymous type community that Evan had been involved with and that Max sort of gets involved with. It was a fun sort of fast-paced thriller that surprised me. So I gave it 4 stars as well. Next, I listened to The Weed That Strings the Hangman's Bag by Alan Bradley, which is the second in the Flavia de Luce series, mystery series. It's kind of like if Nancy Drew and Sherlock Holmes had a small, sociopathic, scientifically gifted daughter together. That's who Flavia de Luce is, and it's set in the 50s in England, and I don't know, I always listen or read these in the fall. I just feel like fall is the time to read Flavia de Luce mysteries. I don't know. Honestly, I can't tell you a lot about what happened in this one. For some reason, when I was listening to it this month, I was listening to it while I was doing a lot of other things, and I just remember it being fine background entertainment. Next, as I mentioned in my library haul video, I got the rest of the series so far of Amulets, volumes 2 through 6, and I kind of have mixed feelings about this series. I was super excited to read it. I remember reading the first one, it was a long time ago, and really loving it. But I have mixed feelings about the rest of the series. I gave most of the rest of the volumes 3 stars. I did give, I think it was the 3rd volume, I gave a 4-star to because there was a lot that happened in that one and they handled it really well. I feel like overall this story is very Star Wars. There are so many parallels with Star Wars. I love Star Wars, don't get me wrong, but Star Wars is Star Wars! And this is not Star Wars, so it should be something different. Does that make sense? I love the art. The art is absolutely beautiful. These are graphic novels, if you don't know. The art blows me away. And I think if I were 10 years old, the story would also be heads and tails above most of what else is out there for middle grade. But for me, at my age, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. And that's that. Again, I feel like I know that they're good, and I know that if I were a kid, I would be eating these up. But for some reason, it's not striking a chord with me. And that's it. So that's 15 books, counting all those Amulet books, and that's kind of a lot for me. In fact, I think October is going to be way less because I may have tripped and fallen into rewatching The West Wing, so who knows how many books I'm going to get to this month. Let me know down in the comments what you guys read this month, or if you've read any of these that I talked about, and hopefully I will be back soon in much better lighting, and I'll see you then. Bye. He goes and meets Vikings, and castles, and dragons, and wyverns, and all kinds of stuff. I think they're wyverns. They could just be dragons. They are just dragons. I got that mixed up with Amulet. Anyway.